How's it going, Crusaders? Welcome back to another sermon. Today we are checking out joy. And this is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Now, Crusaders, you might be asking, didn't you already do a sermon on peace? And that was at Myrtle Beach where we did the sermon on peace. Cannot believe that's already about 3 months ago. About time for another beach trip, huh? Anyways, so, isn't peace and joy pretty much the same thing? Well, I guess that's true. So I'll go ahead and end this sermon right now, Crusaders. I'll catch you all Monday for the Bible study. See you guys. No, but in all seriousness, they are kind of the same. And they're both, a feeling of pleasure, comfort, happiness, all those things. But, I feel joy and peace also have their own special, characteristics, that need to be studied separately. And I also have plans in the future to do a sermon on gladness, which, how much different is gladness than joy? How much different is gladness and peace, But, you're probably thinking now, joy and gladness are definitely the same thing. There's no need for it. But, they are indeed all similar. But, look at your hands. And, you got 5 fingers, and they're all similar, but they all play a different part in the functionality of how your hand works. And in this case, peace, joy, and gladness all play a part in the ability to make us a better person, mentally, physically, and most importantly, through gaining all these things through Christ spiritually. So, I know we have all felt the feeling of joy before. Some of us more than others, some maybe not so much in a very long time. So, you can never have too much of joy. So, let's take a look at the best way possible to achieve and receive joy through the Word of God. And, I know you look at the world today and, it seems like every single year it's less and less of a God presence in the world today. And with that being said, less and less joy. They're trying to ban the Bible. They're trying to get God out of businesses, homes, literally. And, they think they're doing something to improve their way of life, but they don't realize the damage that they're doing to this world, country, economy, all these things. But, when you take away joy from the world, let's look at what hell literally means. It is a separation of God. And when you try to separate or take away God's presence, there will no longer be joy. So guys, as always, we're going to check out 3 Bible verses today. Firstly, we're going to check out Psalm 16:11. Thou wilt, pause for a second, the title of the verse, God preserves his people. Thou wilt shew me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. So, basically the altitude of the righteous man is described in life and death. In life, his attitude is one of trust, gratefulness for God's goodness, delight in God's people, separation from adulterous worship, satisfaction in God's gracious provisions, praise for the Lord's counsel, and steadfastness in spiritual devotion. In facing death, the righteous man rejoices and is hopeful. He is confident that God will preserve him from the decay of death and that death will not result in his corruption. Rather, he will travel down as it says right here in verse 11, the path of life. In verse 10, verse 11, that is the path leading to life, which will terminate in God's joyful presence. So, so many people look at life, including myself, and I'm sure at some point, even you as well, have asked the question, what is the point? Life sucks. Nothing matters. This is too hard. But, Crusaders, I want us to stop for just a second and look at the life of Christ and understand that his life was 100 times harder than ours ever could possibly be. So, what if he thought that way? What's the point? These people don't love me. These people don't respect me. These people don't believe in me. If he thought that way, or done the things that we do in response to how we feel of what's the point, life sucks, all this and all that, you look at the life of Christ and what he done and the pure joy he left us with, knowing what awaits us in heaven, makes it all worth it, Crusaders. We can be on this earth and not have one joyful day on it. We can live to 100 years old, 100 years of not one day of joy. But if we believe in Jesus Christ every step of that way, what's waiting for us on the other side, a second of that was worth 100 years on earth of no joy. And that's not me saying that because I've heard preachers say that before. That's not me repeating what I've seen on a movie or a TV show. That's what I believe in my heart and my soul and my belief of, just what's waiting for us on the other side when it comes to heaven. So, guys, we're going to check out the second Bible verse, which is also in Psalm. We're jumping over to Psalm 112. Title of the verse, The Man Who Fears God. And I'm going to say the entirety of Psalm 12. I did just have one verse, but I want to read the entirety of Psalm 112, which is 10 verses, because it's important to hear. Praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth God, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and in his righteousness endureth forever. Unto the upright there arises light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteousness. A good man sheweth favor, and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteousness shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he sees his desire upon his enemies. He hath dispersed, he hath given to the poor. His righteousness endureth forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. The wicked shall see it and be grieved. He shall gnash with his teeth and melt away. The desire of the wicked shall perish. So, you look at this psalm, and it is written in the same 10-verse format as the preceding one. You look at, there's a bunch of different psalms that are only 10 verses, but the contrast between the righteous man and the wicked man marks this poem out as a wisdom psalm. Almost all of the psalm, however, is taken up with the good fortunes of the righteous man, with only one verse dedicated to the observation of the wicked's destruction. So, that goes along with what I just said. You know, you can live 100 years and not have one joyful day, but the joy you should have in your heart, because you know it's waiting for you on the other side, should overpower that gratefully. So, guys, I want us all to just stop for a moment and, just a little analogy here. But let's talk about jobs. And if this doesn't apply to you, message me, send me an application. I'd really appreciate it. So, I get paid every 2 weeks. I work at the #1 and busiest restaurant in Pigeon Forge. #1 on TripAdvisor, #1 burger, all this stuff. So an average day for me is complete insanity, pure chaos, busy being a laughable understatement to what I go through on a daily basis. And in the span of one shift in my head, I've probably quit 4 times that day. Now, I make a very average pay as a kitchen manager, nothing special. But, when I get my paycheck, all I went through those 2 weeks, almost, I want you to understand that I'm saying almost, seem worth it. Now I'm not stressing how the bills get paid this month. I'm not buying anything special, but my bills are paid because of that. Now, take that same concept and look at life. It's hard, it's stressful, it's always a constant struggle with, money and money and money, but Crusaders, if we give our heart, soul, mind, and body literally to Jesus, if we go through all of that but still have joy in us because we know what is waiting for us when it's all said and done, when we get to heaven, finally, the first thought that will cross our minds when we get there is, it was all worth it. Now, if a paycheck can even make you remotely joy, just think about the kingdom of God and what is waiting for us there on the other side, because we put our faith, trust, belief, and life in the hands of Jesus Christ. I don't think we will ever not be able to stop smiling in heaven. So, and Crusaders, that is authentic joy. It's not fabricated, it's not fake, it'll all be worth it. And I truly believe that with my heart and soul. So, Crusaders, we're going to jump over to our third and final Bible verse of the day. We're going to check out Matthew, one of the Gospels. Probably my favorite type of Bible verse to use in a sermon is from the Gospels. And if you look at my sermons, I do get to do that quite often, thankfully. So we're going to check out Matthew 25:21. Title of the verse, Readiness and Stewardship. And this is from the lips of God. His Lord said unto him. And guys, I just want to stop, and I really want you guys to pay attention to this verse, please. Guys, this verse right here is what we're all waiting for. You can split the Bible up into whatever type of category you want to, but Matthew 25:21 should be its own category, as this is the goal, this is what we're waiting to hear, and this is what we want. This is what we need, this is what we desire. This is the main thing that we are searching for in the entirety of our lives when it comes to passing over to the other side. Matthew 25:21. his Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. Guys, that is what we're waiting for. That is the main goal that we're striving to hear. You know, come Judgment Day, we're going to hear one of two things. Turn away from me. I never knew you. Or the beautiful, goosebump giving words from the mouth of Jesus in this verse. And if you get to hear Matthew 25:21 in your ears when it comes Judgment Day, that'll be the definition of joy, Crusaders. And I really want you to think about that. That's why I did want to split up peace and joy, because they are very similar, but they're also so different, Crusaders. So you look at peace, and you know, peace is the feeling you get because you know joy is waiting for you on the other side. So that is why I wanted to split those two up and do separate sermons on those, because as they are similar, they are extremely different, Crusaders. So that was the sermon on joy. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope that it resonated and you can do some reflection on that. And I hope you guys go out today with this message being said, and in the glory of God, spread some joy yourselves. Thanks, Crusaders.